Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the alternate football podcast. This is going to be a more somber one this week. Essentially, all we got. The goodbye to the legends, goodbye to all the alliance. I decided this time to, hey, Randy Mangrover, nice to see you. Following me on Instagram there. You can follow me here on Instagram, Alternate Football Podcast. I'm also live streaming here on YouTube. I got a glass of whiskey left over from St. Patty's Day just because this is a somber day for all us Alliance fans. So cheers to everyone that put in time and effort to even trying to make this thing work. But it's a very sad day. I'm sure most of you, if you follow me on this podcast, have found out by now that the Alliance of American Football League decided to fold this week and didn't even finish their season. Something that even the XFL did was successful in doing. So, well, I'm not even going to bother reviewing the games from last week because it's pointless. I guess technically our champion is the Orlando Apollos because they had the best record. But other than that, who really cares? So why did this happen? I can honestly say I am not surprised this happened. When I first heard about this game and when I first saw the app, with how long it took the app to come out, that was my first realization that something was not going well. And then when the app finally did come out and what they came out with was what they came out with, it really looked slapdash. So then I was like, okay, something somewhere was malfunctioning and not working in either the app development side or something like that. So I am not surprised. Now, I was very hopeful when Tom Dundon came on that something could possibly have gotten improved with, or essentially that they could at least get through one season, which was by far the most important thing. Even with the app the way it was, if you made it through one season and then developed the app for the next year and brought in more DraftKings style daily fantasy where fans could literally would put money into the app. Like the app was released for free, but there was no way to monetize guys playing on the app. So that makes no sense. If you were making money off the app, who cares how many people are in attendance or any of that? So that is why I had hope for this league at first. But then when it took so long for the app to come out, that is where, and what they came out with was a poor game that was not fun to play, especially if you were watching on TV. The app was always a couple plays ahead of the actual TV. So when I used it watching away games for the Legends or just other games that weren't Legends like Iron or Apollos, when I was watching games that I wasn't personally attending, I pulled it up and I would guess like maybe 2 or 3 of the beginning plays, but then eventually the app would be like 2, 3, maybe 4 plays ahead of the TV, and it just wasn't very conducive to being entertaining. Like it didn't make it fun to play. Hey, Big Country, thank you for joining me. If you want to watch on YouTube. Hey, and like if they just made the app a monetized app where you could like draft a fantasy team for $1 each, every person that was playing the app, they would be able to pay attention to the game while the game is happening, which with this app where you guessed where the play was going to be, that was not fun, honestly. Like, okay, so they go for a run. Now, I can see where it might be possibly engaging for some people, but for me, I think fantasy football has already shown that it is super engaging, and they wanted to try to make something that's already engaging even more engaging. I'm like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Why would you try to make a new style fantasy football where you're guessing what play is going to happen? Who cares what play is going to happen as long as it works? It was asinine that they ever came out with that app. If they, I'm hoping the XFL learns hey Lucas, I hope the XFL learns from this experience and actually starts. I hope they come out with a DraftKings style, or if they actually partner with either DraftKings or FanDuel or even MGM, and they design their own app where you could literally just do a fantasy football. You pay $1 per roster spot, and then daily fantasy for the entire season. That would be the money maker for the league, so you didn't have to worry about attendance or TV dollars or anything like that. And also the fact that the streaming on the app and on the website never came about. Never came about. Well, they had their weird like Skycam footage, but I had to go to YouTube and watch on Highlight Heaven and Dofu Stream. I don't know if any of you guys found those guys, but if my DVR didn't have it or something, which usually my DVR had it, but like for the BR Live games, if I couldn't watch a BR Live games live, that happened a couple times. I believe it was a Hot Shots and Stallions game. It was only on BR Live. I wasn't able to watch it live. I was too busy doing other things, but I still wanted to watch the game. BR Live didn't have it available right away. I wound up having to go to YouTube, and I watched on Dofu Stream, I think was the channel that I watched it on, instead of watching it on the actual website, which is where it should be. So anyway, that's how I feel about that. Let me just get into some of the reasons why. So let me ask some of you guys on Instagram and some of you guys in the YouTube chat, is Tom Dundon the Donald Trump of the Alliance? I would say yes, downright. He's definitely the Donald Trump, because he came in and tried to bully people around into doing what he wanted, and when he didn't get what he wanted, Tom Dundon, he started whining and crying that he couldn't get NFL players, so he just shut the thing down. In Donald Trump's case, he was whining and complaining that he didn't have an NFL team, and he wanted to be an NFL team. Man, why are you not being nice to me, not letting me in your NFL league? So, okay, I'll try to destroy you and sue you with this league, and hopefully then you'll just give me an NFL team. And guess what? It didn't work, and then the USFL folded. So Tom Dundon is just as bad in terms of football as Donald Trump. Now, I'm not going to get political, but he's the Donald Trump. He's the guy who ruined the league. I think the league had an okay footing if they had somebody stay and get through the entire season, at least one season, and then develop from there, like develop the app that I think they should have done instead of what they did. Now, will they be back? I do not think they will be. I think the Alliance of American Football League is over. There is no chance they're coming back. Now, I think some of the assets and some of the technology, which is what Tom Dundon was actually interested in, I think he was more interested in the technology behind the app. That's why that part of the operations, that's why they specifically said football operations is shutting down. So they're not playing the games anymore, but they still have the technology for the app. But so like the player tracking and that kind of thing. Some of the things that I hope the XFL and maybe the NFL picks up. I hope the XFL learns that they that some of their rules worked really well. I personally didn't like not having kickoffs. I really like the XFL's idea for making the kicking off at like normal, but having the two teams, except for the kicker and the returner, line up 5 yards apart, and they can't engage until the receiver has the ball in hand. That makes total sense to me. That lowers the concussion risk significantly for the players that aren't the returners. I also kind of like the Rutgers coach idea of just giving them 4 and 10 and every play, and you can either punt or go for it. Give the player 4 and 10, give the team that just scored a 4 and 10 from the 25, and you can punt or you can go for it. I like that idea too. But anyway, apparently the AAF, when we first had Tom Dundon join, apparently the AAF actually tried to sell to Vince before this ever came in to make their payroll. So that is quite interesting. I wonder if Vince will actually obtain a lot of the equipment and stuff that the AAF paid money. Apparently they're interested in that, which would make sense. Now, will they expand to more teams? I do not think so. I think they'll probably just buy all the equipment that they can. I bet they probably haven't bought any equipment because I think Vince saw this coming. Because if they really did offer the league to Vince before the season even started, that means Vince probably had an idea where this was going to go. So he's planned this out. That's why he's brought more money in. And I do think that Charlie Ebersol or Dick Ebersol and Vince are probably still friends. So they've probably talked. Let's be honest. They've probably had a few whiskeys here and there. I'm going to have a sip now. I'm getting riled up. Very good. I do love my whiskey. Okay. So hopefully the XFL learns from the experiences, and one thing I think would be very fun to see is if the XFL picked up a few of the teams from the Alliance of American Football League. Like pick up, I would think if they added Orlando, Birmingham, San Antonio, and San Diego, or Arizona, one of those two, Arizona or San Diego. I do believe that those leagues, those teams, made it very interesting, and especially if you bring back Orlando with the Tampa Bay team in the XFL and the Orlando Apollos, you can bring back the War and I-4 like the Orlando Predators and Tampa Bay Storm. That was always fun. I love those rivalry games, and I really do miss that. That's why I'm kind of excited that the Orlando Predators are back, and I hope the National Arena League brings the Tampa Bay Storm back at some point. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But we have a chance of that coming back. I mean, there's not much. The only way I see the AAF coming back is if, for some reason, Jerry Jones really wanted to have the championship game in his star in Frisco, and he comes by and like payrolls for the rest of this season, or even if they just come back and do the playoffs or just the championship game. I really wish they would do like the top 4 teams in the Alliance. That would be I'm trying to remember, like the Apollos, the Iron, the Hot Shots, and the Commanders. Just bring those 3 teams and play the playoffs in Frisco in the Star 2 weeks in a row. Championship games 1 week, and then championship game 1 more week. Just let us do it and have every game on NFL Network. Just give us a champion. Just let them play it. Jerry Jones I know you're not watching this, but if you hear any of this, please just let those players show up and play that game. Even if they don't all show up. I just want to see it. But anyways. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual football that is going on and will be going on for the rest of the year. Let's talk about the IFL, because the IFL has been around for more than one season and will be for the foreseeable future, at least for a little while. So week 6 in the IFL this week, the first game was very entertaining. I loved watching it. The Green Bay Blizzard went into the Quad Cities and beat the Steamwheelers 29-26. It was a very entertaining game to watch, especially in the fourth quarter. Now, at the beginning of the game, it really did look like Quad City had the Steamwheelers beat, which, yeah, it's true that they possibly could have kept doing that, but they came back. They had that awesome kick return. They blocked the pass. They blocked the pass at the end, the kick return, while the onside kick that then was picked up, I should say, not the kick return, because it didn't get returned anywhere. It was a very entertaining game, and they're playing each other next week, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't have a whole lot of stats on a lot of these games because no one was balls out amazing in any of these games. No one was really super standout. So I'm mostly just going to go through the scores and then preview next week's games, which a lot of the next week's games are the same as this week, just change the location. The Danger, Nebraska went into Bismarck and destroyed the Bucks. The Bucks are 50-35. So obviously the Bucks are showing that they are down the bottom of the league, as they always have been and probably always will be. Unfortunately, because their uniforms look sick. I really like the Bismarck Bucks uniforms. I think they look amazing. And their arena honestly doesn't look that bad. I just guess the market is just too small for an arena that size. That's my only guess. But I'm amazed they can't get at least a few good players. Nebraska got Armstrong, and he's killing it right now. He's running all over the place. He's practically like a running back. But, hey. The Barnstormers, Iowa Barnstormers, went into Cedar Rapids, and beat the River Kings 41-20. That was a total shellacking, and that weird arena that Cedar Rapids has. Strike Force. The Strike Force looked better than they have. They normally look really terrible, but they looked slightly better against the Sugar Skulls. Now, I'm not sure if that had anything to do with the fact that the Sugar Skulls are also an expansion team, so they look better against the other expansion team, but the Sugar Skulls do look like a fairly decent football team. They are 3-1 right now, so they have a winning record. But obviously the Strike Force handled it. The game I was most excited about in the IFL this week, the Sioux Falls Storm and the Arizona Rattlers, wound up not being as entertaining as I thought it would be. I really thought that it was going to go more the way of the Blizzard and the Steamwheelers, literally down to the last play of the game, with a lot of high scoring. But really the Rattlers won by 18 points, but it really wasn't even that close. It could have been 21 points. It could have been three touchdowns or 4 touchdowns. It wasn't as close as the score really makes it seem like. But that's the way it goes. So next week, the first game is also going to be the Steamwheelers and the Blizzard, but this time it's going to be in Green Bay and not Quad City. So I'm looking forward to watching that one, because hopefully it's just a repeat of this week, which was already entertaining. Then the next game, the Sioux City Storm go into the Bismarck Bucks. Storm will destroy the Bucks. The Bucks are terrible. The Strike Force going to Arizona to play the Rattlers. The Rattlers will destroy the Strike Force. The Strike Force are terrible. Iowa Barnstormers are now hosting the River Kings, so they're turning right around, moving from Quad City. I believe Iowa is in Des Moines, so the Barnstormers are going to now also have home field advantage, so they will destroy the River Kings. Now, the other one that's very entertaining this week, Tucson is going into Nebraska to play the Danger. Now, this one is interesting because you have the Danger, which is not an expansion team, but not really the top of the league. And then the Sugar Skulls, who are an expansion team, but and have shown flashes of being possibly a very good football team, whether or not they're expansion or not. So we'll have to see whether or not the expansion team is as good as we think. I think they are. I think they could be one of the middling good teams, and the Danger could be either just as bad as Bismarck or could be fairly decent. And this is about the week that we'll start figuring all this out on who will actually be doing well or not. So another thing is the Danger lost a offensive lineman. He is going to be playing for the Albany Empire, and they released they congratulated him on being picked up by an AFL team. Like, I always like to see when a player makes a step up. And my first reaction to that was, so even the IFL teams think that the AFL is a step up from them? I personally don't see it that way, other than the fact that he's probably making more money in Albany. In terms of play, I haven't seen that the IFL is much worse than the AFL was last year. Now, we'll see what the AFL is like with 6 teams this year, if the play gets significantly better or more competitive. We'll wait and see. We got about a month away from that from happening. But I really do put the IFL, the NAL, the National Arena League, and the AFL at the same level. I really do think competitively, if you took the Arizona Rattlers and played them against the Philadelphia Soul right now in either IFL or AFL rules, it would be a close game because they're both very similar. And I do think that it would be closer than some of the games that we've been seeing this year with like the Barnstormers and the River Kings. It'll be closer than that game. So it might be somewhere with the Storm and the Rattlers, the Sioux City Storm and the Rattlers, somewhere around that. But I don't know which team would do better, like which team would win. I'm really not sure. So I find that interesting that the IFL thinks that they're inferior to the AFL, because I personally don't think that's true. But hey, we got the IFL still going strong, and we got the National Arena League kicking off next week. So if you enjoy what I'm doing here, covering all these alternative podcasts, alternative football, please click like and subscribe on YouTube. Please follow me on Instagram, Alternate Football Podcast. Send me a question on Gmail. I'll try to respond personally on Gmail, or I'll answer it here in the podcast, or I would possibly even start doing giveaways or something. I got plenty of Legends stuff that I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with it. So if you want Legends gear, let me know. Maybe I can send you something. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me with this alliance. Hopefully the XFL does better next year. Cheers, and have a good night.